My people, what happened in the court during Kanu's trial shocked everybody. The courtroom was on fire, not literally, but with tension and emotion. If you haven't heard, Nnamdi Kanu, the leader of the Indigenous Peoples of Biafra, had one of the most dramatic days in court since this long and controversial trial has begun. The question on everyone's lips right now is simple. What really happened that made him so angry? Stay with me, my brothers and sisters, because this gist is deep. And if you're watching, please do me one favor. Like this video right now and subscribe so you don't miss any of my real-time updates. Trust me, after hearing what went down in that courtroom today, you'll understand why Nigeria is buzzing. The scene was the Federal High Court in Abuja, before Justice James Omotosho. It was supposed to be a routine sitting, the kind of day everyone expected the case to move forward smoothly. Today was meant to be the day when Kanu would finally enter his defense. In simple terms, it was his turn to tell his side of the story officially. But just as things were about to begin, everything changed. Kanu stood up, his tone calm but firm, and told the court something that made everyone in the room sit up. He said he had a motion, a formal request that he had been trying to file for 3 days, but the DSS had refused to let him file it. The whole courtroom went silent. Even people at the back leaned forward. You could hear a pin drop. The judge looked up, clearly surprised, and asked the DSS officials why the motion hadn't been filed if it had been ready all that time. One of the DSS representatives explained that there were protocols, that Kanu's legal consultants had to write to request permission before he could leave their facility to file anything. Justice Omotosho didn't like the sound of that at all. He told the court registrar to step in immediately and help Kanu file the motion right there and then. He even granted a 1-hour break to make sure everything was done properly. So they paused the hearing, everyone waited, and after that break, the motion was finally filed. But my people, that's exactly where the real drama started. Before I continue, please like this video right now and subscribe so you'll get every detail as it drops. This is the kind of courtroom gist that shakes the nation.
When the hearing resumed, the prosecuting counsel, a woman representing the federal government, stood up. She told the judge that she would not respond to Kanu's motion. She said instead that she would rely on the exhibits already attached to the case file because everything Kanu filed was already part of the court record. The judge then confirmed it. He said, "Yes, I have received the motion dated November 16 and filed on the 7th, as well as the earlier one dated October 29th and filed on October 30th. But Justice Omotosho made something very clear. He said firmly, "I still stand by my earlier order. No preliminary objections or motions will be treated until after judgment." And that statement, my people, is where everything exploded. Let me break it down for you. Inside that motion, Kanu struggled for days to file. He made 3 major requests. First, he asked the court to remove his earlier plea of not guilty. He claimed that plea was deceptively obtained, that he didn't make it freely or fairly. Second, he wanted all previous proceedings and court orders in his case set aside, completely cancelled, because he believed the trial began on a wrong footing. Third, he prayed the court to grant him immediate freedom, saying the whole process had been faulty from the very beginning. Now imagine this. After listening to all that, the judge looked at him and said calmly, "All right, Mr. Kanu, please now enter your defense." But Kanu refused. He said, "No, I cannot defend myself until I am told under what law I am being tried." You could almost feel the air tighten in the courtroom. The judge tried to explain that the law had already been established, but Kanu stood his ground. He insisted that the foundation of the case itself was wrong. That was when Justice Omotosho became firm. He said, "Mr. Kanu, I have given you enough time and enough grace. If you enter your defense today, I will give you more time. But if you refuse, I will take it that you have waived your right to defense." Those words changed everything. Kanu didn't like it one bit. The judge then fixed November 20th, 2025 as the date for judgment. He ruled that since Kanu refused to enter his defense, both sides, prosecution and defense, would not write any final address. That meant no closing arguments before the final decision. At that point, the courtroom went from tense to electric.
Kanu, visibly angry, suddenly shouted, "Don't tell rubbish. You don't know the law. You don't respect judgment. You must tell me under what law I am being tried." People gasped. Security officials moved uneasily. But anyone who has followed Kanu's journey knows this is not out of character. He's always been vocal, always ready to challenge what he sees as injustice. Now, let's pause for a moment and break it down for everyone watching. Kanu's major argument is that the law under which he's being tried, the Terrorism Prevention and Prohibition Act, is invalid or doesn't apply to him. He believes that if the foundation of the charge is wrong, then the entire trial has no legal standing. But the judge clearly sees it differently. Justice Omotosho believes the matter has already gone through enough procedures and that it's time to move forward to defense or judgment. This is the heart of the legal tension. You have a defendant saying, "My rights are being violated," and a court saying, "We can't keep delaying forever." If you're still following, please like this video and subscribe because we are not done yet. The deeper side of this gist is still coming. After the shouting, the court tried to calm things down. But the judge stood firm. He maintained his ruling. Since Kanu refused to enter his defense, the court would go ahead and deliver judgment on November 20th. Many legal experts are now saying this is a very tricky position. If Kanu's right to fair hearing is truly in question, especially since he claimed the DSS blocked him from filing his motion for days, that could become a major issue later, even internationally. But others argue that the court can't keep waiting forever. They say the case has dragged on for too long. Justice delayed, they say, is justice denied. So here we are, two powerful sides, both standing their ground. People who were in the courtroom said Kanu's voice rose when the judge mentioned that there would be no final address. He kept repeating, "You must tell me the law, don't tell lies." To his supporters, it wasn't just anger. It was symbolic. It was Kanu saying the system itself is broken. Let's look ahead. The next big date is November 20th, Judgment Day. If Kanu continues to refuse to defend himself, the court may base its entire decision only on the prosecution's evidence. That's huge, because once judgment is delivered, it's either conviction or discharge. There won't be another chance to argue motions or raise new points. So all eyes are now on that date. Supporters are praying for release. Critics say it's time to end the case once and for all. Whatever happens, the whole country and even the international community will be watching. And as you're watching this gist right now, please like the video, subscribe and turn on notifications because I'll bring you every single update from that judgment day. Now, let's talk about why Kanu's reaction touched so many people. For years, he has said his trial is not just about the law, it's about justice and self-determination. He believes this whole process is political. That's why every time he appears in court, you see his supporters across Nigeria and even abroad paying attention. To them, every statement he makes carries deeper meaning. When he said, "You must tell me under what law I am being tried," it wasn't just a legal question. It was a cry for clarity and fairness. He also claimed his original plea of not guilty was deceptively obtained, meaning he believes it wasn't made under free, fair conditions. Under Section 36 of Nigeria's constitution, every accused person has the right to know exactly what they are charged with, to have full access to legal representation, and to be given adequate time to prepare. So when he said the DSS blocked him for 3 days from filing his motion, he was arguing that his fair hearing rights were violated. That's not a small matter. But the federal government side says Kanu is simply delaying the process. They insist it's time to conclude. And the court, led by Justice Omotosho, is caught right in the middle of this tug of war. It's not easy for the judge, to be honest. On one hand, you have a vocal defendant who insists he's being treated unfairly. On the other, you have a government determined to prove it's acting by the book. And then came the line that has now become the most talked about quote from today's session. If you refuse to enter your defense, it will be taken that you have waived your right. That's the statement that triggered the explosion. To waive your right means that if you refuse to defend yourself when given the chance, the court proceeds as though you choose to stay silent. That's what angered Kanu deeply. He said it was unfair that the court was skipping a crucial step. People in the courtroom said his frustration was visible, his voice sharp, his hands raised, his tone filled with disbelief. This wasn't just a legal argument anymore. It was emotional. He was shouting not just as a defendant, but as a man who felt his entire struggle was being dismissed. Now, what happens next? If the court rules against him on November 20th, Kanu's legal team will almost certainly appeal immediately. That means the case could move to the Court of Appeal. But if he's released or the case is dismissed, it will be one of the biggest legal shocks in Nigeria this year. Some analysts even believe the court could take a middle ground. Maybe not total freedom, but some partial relief, acknowledging his complaints about a fair hearing. Nobody knows for sure, but everyone agrees on one thing. The next hearing will be explosive. Now let's not ignore how people are reacting outside the courtroom, especially in the Southeast. Online discussions are heated. Many are saying the judgment must be fair and transparent or it could create new tensions. Some groups are already warning that they are watching closely. At the same time, there are calm voices urging patience, telling everyone to let the legal process finish before jumping to conclusions. But no matter what happens, today's events show that emotions are high, patience is thin, and trust in the system is fragile. So my people, as we count down to November 20th, one thing is clear. Nnamdi Kanu's anger today was not just about the courtroom. It was about principle. It was about law, justice, and identity. Whether you support him or not, this case is a big test for Nigeria's judiciary, a test of how we handle complex, emotional, and politically sensitive trials. So please, if you're still watching, like this video now, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell, because when that judgment drops, I will be right here to break it down for you. Simple, clear, and factual. This story is not over. It's just getting hotter. Until next time, my brothers and sisters, stay safe, stay alert, and keep your eyes on November 20th.